Many people feel nervous while speaking in meetings, not because they don't know English, but because they don't know what to say. So, in this video, you'll learn professional phrases for meetings that help you speak calmly, clearly, and confidently at work. Let's begin. So, the first question is why meeting phrases matter? So, you have to understand that meetings are not about speaking a lot, okay? They're about speaking at the right time with the right words, right? If your phrases are unclear, people ignore you. And if your phrases are too casual, people don't take you seriously. Okay? So there's a very thin line between what you say and what people perceive out of it. And that is why professional phrases they help you enter conversation smoothly. Okay? So if you know what to speak and at what time, you'll definitely leave a better impact. Okay? So with this, let's begin with our phrases and understand each one in depth. Okay? So the first phrase that we'll talk about is starting to speak. Now what this means is many people jump directly into their point. Okay, so say in any meeting or any conversation, what happens is if they want to say something, they'll just jump directly on their point. Okay, but instead we should be using an entry phrase. Okay, so what uh, does it mean exactly? As I mentioned, we don't have to jump. We should be using an entry phrase, which means we should add something like uh, I would like to add something here, or if I may add my perspective. Okay, so basically with this, what happens is uh, you sound polite and not interrupting. Okay, so this way people will start listening to you more in the meetings. So let's move ahead. So our next phrase is sharing an opinion. Okay, so the thing that we have to understand is if you want to give your opinion on any discussion, okay, on any point of discussion in some meeting, you should be framing it beforehand, okay, in your mind, so that you can speak up clearly. And before directly saying your opinion, just frame it professionally. Okay, so how can we do it? So we should be starting with it with, in my opinion, or from my perspective. Let's see some examples. Okay. In my opinion, this approach is effective, or from my perspective, this may save time. Okay, so this is how you can use these phrases into your uh, opinions, right? Your statements of opinions. So basically, these phrases show confidence without sounding aggressive. Let's move ahead with our next phrase. Okay, so I'll say it's a very classic uh, phrase, and it's about agreeing in a meeting. Okay, so you would yourself recall that whenever you are agreeing, or anybody in a given meeting, if he or she is agreeing with something, some point, so what exactly are they using in their response? They're simply saying yes or okay, right? But you have an alternative. You have a better option to that, and that is, yeah, don't say yes or okay. Yeah, instead you should be saying I agree with this point, or that makes sense to me. So what happens is when you use these phrases, your agreement sounds stronger, okay, and clearer. So basically, it sorts of adds conviction to your agreement, okay. Instead of saying yes or okay, you should be saying I agree with this point or that makes sense to me. So let's move ahead with our next phrase. So we learned about agreeing with something. Let's now focus on how to disagree politely. Okay, because not always will you be agreeing with somebody on some point, right? There would be instances when you would be not agreeing or disagreeing with somebody on their stand or any point of discussion. Okay, so in this case, a lot of people say I don't agree. And yeah, of course, before that, you have to understand that disagreeing does not mean arguing. Okay, there's a professional way of disagreeing with anybody or anybody's opinion. So instead of saying I don't agree, which is mentioned here, right? You should not be saying I don't agree. Rather, you should say I see it differently. I see it slightly differently, or I have a different perspective on this, right? So using these phrases keeps the conversation professional. Now let's move ahead to our next phrase. Of course, let's discuss about asking for clarity. One of the most common instances, I would say, what happens is in a meeting where a lot of people are involved, uh, most of the people they're not able to put up their questions, right? They're afraid, they're hesitant. So what happens is they simply keep silent. Okay, but the point that I'm trying to say here is if you don't understand something, don't stay silent. Okay, always remember if you have doubts, don't stay silent. Okay, rather you should be asking your question with these phrases. You could say, could you please clarify this? Or you could say, just to confirm my understanding. And you can repeat the point or you can ask a question. Okay. So just to reiterate, you if you want to put up any doubt, you want to get some clarification, simply say, could you please clarify this? Or just to confirm my understanding. Okay. So these phrases show attentiveness, okay, not your weakness. Even if you're asking a question or even if you're in doubt. Okay. So with this, we get on to our quick practice section. Now read each section one by one. Take a pause, absorb it. Okay? I want to say, I would like to add something. Instead of saying I think, say in my opinion. Instead of saying yes for agreeing, say that makes sense to me. Instead of no, you should be saying I see it differently. Okay? To disagree with something. And if you want some clarification, instead of saying explain, you can say could you please clarify. So this is how meeting confidence builds. Okay? And remember, meetings are about clear phrases, not long speeches. And professional English, it can help you to participate calmly in those meetings. And I'll strictly recommend you to use one of the phrases in your next meeting. So that's it, guys. If this video was helpful, you can subscribe to the channel. In the next video, we'll learn how to speak politely but firmly at work. Thank you.